has lost himself around about 32 seconds at this point.
On the back wheel of the bicycle. Hi guys, our bicycle, after repairing the wheel chain or the chain wheel, I always confused between these two words. The chain, if you say the wheel chain, you mean the wheel itself, but if you say the chain wheel, you see. So anyway, our bicycle, after repairing the chain wheel, now we want to go and repair some other parts, because we are going to go and visit people in many places. So one of my resolution was to go from town to town treating people. So this is what I'm talking about. It's a very clear day. This is February 3rd. So it's very clear, no single cloud anywhere. You can see it's completely clear and it's very sunny, and it's also a good time to repair your bicycle. So what we're talking about is, when we went to look at the previous pictures, I bought some wires that need to go in these places. So you can see there are some wires that are missing. You can see this one here. There's no wire here. So there are several wires that are missing, and all of those are supposed to be fixed. Otherwise the bicycle will start wobbling. So you can see there is no wire here. There's no wire here. And some of them are very loose, like this wire is broken. You know, it's supposed to be taut very hard, like this one here, but this one you can see you can see, I don't know if you can see that. So it goes to this point here. So we're supposed to repair the back wheel. And in order to do that, you have to disassemble everything, to remove everything. Remove the chain, to remove the stand, to remove the carrier. This is the carrier here. And let us go through the journey together. While we do that, we should also check the tube. There's a tube inside here. You see, you're not supposed to press like this with your hand, and it goes like that. It means that it is deflating. It's a slow puncture. So after repairing these wires, we're supposed also to do some repairs inside. In order to do that successfully, you have to put the bicycle on its back, upside down, the way it is, like this, so that these parts can be easily removed. It has been crazy. When I arrived here maybe 2 years ago in Kisii area, there were not many bicycles. In fact, I always seem to be the only one with a bicycle on the road. So many kids, maybe 1 year, 2 years, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, maybe 9, 10 years, had never seen a bicycle, or of course had never rode one. So they kept on wandering on the side of the road, looking at me, inquiring, getting mesmerized. But after this time, maybe after these 2 years, adults have gained courage and now buying bicycles. I'm seeing maybe one more extra bicycle on the road, and maybe mountain bikes, because this place is a hilly place. I prefer this normal bikes because mountain bikes have a lot of problems. If you have a mountain bike, I've had one, mountain bikes have a lot of problems, a lot of repair problems, so you can testify. So this is the report. order to remove the tire easily from the rim. This is the tire, this is the rim, this is the tire, this is the rim. So in order to remove the tire from the rim, you have to apply some water so that it slides. Remember, a tire is a rubber, so with water it can slide easily out of the fitting. So you apply water all around. This is what I have soaked this material in water. So like that. Then, and to start removing, you have to start at the valve, because this is where there's room to insert something, a metal, that can lift the rubber out, and then you can go all around. The first bicycle was invented in 1817 by Carl von Drais. This is a German, and he was a baron, so he was in charge of taking care of the royal court. So he had a problem walking all around the royal garden, and because the garden was too big in size, it was hard for him to walk around on foot, and would not use the owner's horses, so he wished he had a platform by which he would just sit on and use his feet to move. No, we are not talking about pedaling. There were no pedals at that time, so he wanted to use the feet just to move the platform. The bicycle was called hobby horse. Most early bicycles were made of wood, so typically obvious this bicycle of his was of wood, and because it was made of wood, it shook a lot, earning those bicycles the name bone shakers, because of a lot of shaking. There's no symmetry in the joints and so on, so the bicycle kept on shaking, so it was called a bone shaker. Early bicycle like this one had no pedals, just as I've just said. Pedals were only invented in 1861. After opening up the bicycle, it is now the right time to inspect it, because there are things that you will never see unless you open it up, and you don't open a bicycle all the time. So now you can check what might be a problem. We are seeing that is where a wire has to go, and so far I've inspected. I need three wires on this bicycle, three replaceable wires, which I already have those two, and the one that I've just removed a wire there. You see there's a gap here, you have to fill that gap, and you also check the weakness of the wiring, so by listening to the sound. A strong wire has a peculiar sound. These are the wires that I bought from Rongo. If you check the previous picture, you can see it. You can remember he gave me one extra wire. There are 6. I bought 5, but he gave me 6. One, he said it is zero. It's a Luo word meaning an extra, because I'm a good customer. Then we have these other parts that go with the wires. So this part holds the wire on the rim of the bicycle. So after fitting the wire, that's how you tighten the wire on the rim. And these other parts, they are very important for the wiring. Otherwise, the wire will be weak and it will start wobbling. And sometimes you can have an accident just because of a bad wire. This thing that you are seeing, that brush there, is put between the wires because it cleans that part when it rotates. Those are some of the hard parts to clean. So before anything, you have to remove this bearing. It's a bearing. It's the one that helps the bicycle to run. So you can see in the inside part where you never reach, there's a lot of smudge that is oily, oil mixed with mud. You have to clean it, remove it clearly, and so that it can last long. This ball bearing, I've had it for over maybe 1.5 years, and you can see it's still good. It is still okay. So more cleaning, remove the smudge. There's too much grease, dirty grease. And now let us go on with fixing the wires. This is how you fit the wire. The first company to manufacture bicycle was Trek, the company Trek, and it's the biggest bicycle manufacturer right now. The company was started in 1976, and they produce around 364,000 bicycles per day. The most expensive bicycle on earth is the Trek Madonna Butterfly, which is valued at 500,000 US dollars. This value is because it was used by Lance Armstrong in Tour de France race in the 2009 Tour de France race.
On the defensive, he is not opening up the gaps at all, as we can see now. He looks over his shoulder. He can see he hasn't unlodged anyone.
He did not win that race. He actually finished third.
Well, that's the big thing, isn't it? Paul Armstrong could be losing his second overall to Bradley Wiggins here. Wiggins doesn't look like a man in trouble at all.
He's not in any difficulty at all. He's covered every acceleration. You do notice, though, that Andreas Kloden is there. Kloden could also be moving up into third place overall tonight. Armstrong has lost himself around about 32 seconds at this point. He's probably not too concerned. He's going to allow all the other riders in this group to do the pacemaking.
You can work so hard and fail to eat. So before we continue to repair the puncture in the tube, here I'm having some food. This is ugali made from corn, and we have mchicha. This vegetable is not sukuma wiki, it is mchicha, and some fish there. So let me put something between my teeth, then we'll continue. It's yummy. Talking about pedals were invented 1861. So they were invented in 1861. But the first pedals were attached on the wheel directly, particularly on the front wheel. So things like chains didn't exist. To digest the food, you drink water after 15 to 30 minutes, depending on what kind of food you ate, so that you give ample time for the digestive juices of the stomach to do their work. The most important thing on a bicycle is the brakes. Without the brakes, it's almost impossible to stop downhill. So the brakes are very important. You have to make sure when you repair your bicycle, you have to make sure the brakes are firm and they are good. So that is very important. Otherwise, you should be good in gymnastics. If you are riding at a very high speed, you should know how to stop without hurting yourself if you don't have brakes. An accident, a little accident. Some of the food went down. We have the fish and the vegetables. So anyway, I'm full to the brim. Now let's go back to nation building. We want to find where the leakage is in this, sorry, just had a hearty meat. We want to find where the leakage is, the air leakage. Oh, it is so sunny, I'm burning. So we want to find the hole. You cannot find a hole by just looking and checking. No. You have to devise a way. So we know when air escapes in water, it creates bubbles. So that's what we are going to do. But first we have to stop this valve tight, then pressurize the tube, then put it in water and see where the leakage is. So the problem was with the valve. The valve itself is leaking. That's what has been causing it to lose. Normally a valve leaks only when it is worn out. So there's a part of it that actually, but the tube itself is okay. There's no leakage all around the tube. The tube itself is okay. Otherwise you would have seen air seeping from somewhere else. But that does not seem to be the case. Only the valve itself. So there is no repair for a valve. You only need to replace it. So its price is around 25 cents US dollars, that is $0.25. One of the most important things to always have when you're going to purchase spares of a bicycle are those things that usually wear out. One of them is a valve. I had a spare valve here, and I actually have several. So they are so cheap, you just buy and keep them because you don't know what will happen. Either mud can enter here because sometimes the bicycle can go through water replaces and so on. Then the valve starts leaking. So here we go. This is the valve. It has a blue covering. This covering is very important. Otherwise, that's where water, if water goes in, then the valve will malfunction very easily. Was ready for everything. If the problem would have been a puncture on the tube itself, already had this glue. It's glue for repairing bicycles, or just any rubber tube. So I was ready for anything, but because the problem is only with the valve, then what we only do here is to replace it. This is just how you replace. This is the old one. This is the old one. And this is the new one. So the old and the new. The old and the new. So I was ready for anything. If it was the tube that had a problem, I was ready to put a patch using this glue. But because the problem was not the tube but the valve, then what we only need to do is to replace it. So this is the old valve and this is the new valve. So what we're only going to do is to interchange. The bad valve should go and the new valve should come. So remember, this stopper here is very important. It prevents water from going inside here, or dust. If dust goes inside there, there is a system there, a rubber system. So if the particles will go between the rubber system and the metal, it will start leaking. Maybe this is what happened to the older valve, this older valve here. Sorry, this older valve here. So that is it. So let us check if there's any leaking. See, no more leaking. There are no bubbles, no air bubbles. So this tube has been repaired. So see you after remounting and reassembling everything back. After everything, after preparation, it was important to go and do a road test. You know, after repairing a bicycle, anytime you must do a road test. Most accidents of bicycles happen because maybe somebody forgot to tighten some nut. So here I'm testing and it is perfect. The most important part on a bicycle when it's moving is the brake. Otherwise you should be a stunt master. There is a reason why I placed lights on my bicycle. This is the brake light. Nowadays there are so many motorbikes. This is the front light. It's very bright actually. This is during the daytime. You can imagine that how strong that light is. So the roads are full of motorbikes and there are youth who are driving them or riding them, so it is very risky. Besides, somebody who is following me might be blinded by headlights. So the brake lights can give him a clue that there is somebody in front of him. I always arrive at later in the night, so the lights are for my safety. This is the brake light.